podcast made by basketball fans for basketball fans. From the hottest takes, news, analysis, and passion for the sport that we all love, this is the Fastbreak Pod with Finn James and Will Tremaine. Welcome into the Fastbreak Podcast, the podcast made by basketball fans.
For basketball fans.
It's your boy Finn James.
Will Tremaine.
Back with another episode. We've reached episode 9. A load to unpack in this episode, of course. There always is. There's so much going on in the round bouncy ball code that we all love. But of course, Will, what do we do? First point of the whole episode, every episode, what do we get into?
We start off with some world news, and there's quite a lot to break down this week.
Heaps.
Do you want to start us off, Finn? Sailing. What's happened?
Oh, I'm an absolute guru. I know everything about it. Tacking, jiving, all that. Biggest expert. I've watched about 30 seconds of the America's Cup, and now I'm a sailing expert. But at the end of the day, Team New Zealand, they won it, retained the America's Cup for the third straight time, the first time it's ever been done in America's Cup history. They won 7-2 against Ineos Britannia. They had a day where they dropped 2 races, and it was 4-2. But obviously the Kiwis sorted it out pretty fast and ended up getting a 7-2 victory over the Brits and bring back the trophy once again. Obviously, it was in Barcelona. Fingers crossed the next regatta, they hopefully have it somewhere close by, so I feel a bit more connected and don't have to, get up at Sparrowfart to watch it. But at the end of the day, shout out the boys from Team New Zealand. I'm an expert in sailing, and they won 7-2, and shout out Team New Zealand.
And while you're at it, Finn, I don't watch an ounce of cricket myself. Do you want to break down what's been happening in the cricket world? I was clueless until you told me.
So this could be potentially the biggest 24 hours in New Zealand cricket in recent years. So the Black Caps, for the first time in 36 years, got a test win over India in Bengaluru. So it just wrapped up before the podcast. 36 years.
No way.
36 years. They won by 8 wickets. An unreal first innings from the boys on day 2 after the first day got rained out. 8-wicket win. They had to chase down 104 on the last day with weather looming that could have caused some upsets. But they chased them down with Will Young and Rachman Ravindra sort of leading the way. So an 8-wicket test victory for the Black Caps over India. And tonight, this will be done by the time the podcast goes up. The White Ferns, the women's cricket team, who have been struggling this year, actually made the T20 World Cup final, and they'll be playing South Africa at about 3 a.m. New Zealand time tomorrow morning. So fingers crossed they win, and it'll be a huge 24 hours for New Zealand cricket.
Oh, that's amazing. Good luck to the what are they called?
The White Ferns.
White Ferns. Good luck to the White Ferns. Some more news. Auckland City, our newest sports team, right here at home, Finn. They've just joined the A-League. This is their first season, and they kicked it off with a 2-0 win against Brisbane at Mount Smart Stadium. Almost a packed out crowd as well. I wish we could have got along, but
24,000 people for the first game for Auckland FC. I think Mount Smart holds 25k, so almost a sellout. The crowd looked unreal. The Port, the supporters that hold in the South Stand. A friend of ours, Liam Heap, was at the game, and he said they stood up for the whole 90 minutes. Someone got kicked out because they let off a flare. They had flags. It was pretty crazy. The atmosphere's mean. I'm sure we'll probably try and get down to a game regardless of our knowledge and love for football.
We've got to get along to that Wellington-Phoenix derby. That's going to be
derby's going to be unreal. I think we need to buy a ticket now. But
there's just something about football fans,
They're
even here
crazy,
in New Zealand,
bro.
It's contagious.
It really is.
It's going to be so good. But also, Wellington, on that note, they got a 1-1 draw at home as well in Wellington against Western United. Obviously, they made the final last year, so they'll be looking to go...
I think they made the semi-final last year.
Was it the
semi-final?
Semi-final, but they had a successful season, so hopefully they can build 100%. Off that.
It was the best season Wellington Phoenix had ever had, I'm pretty sure, last year.
But, now that we've got our own team, we're not going to be rooting for them as much anymore.
I know. But that derby, that derby would be... Oh, my God, it'd be unreal.
And lastly, there wouldn't be a world news without me having to break down a little bit of MMA action.
As you do.
Francis Ngannou, as many of you know, is one of the great heavyweight UFC fighters. He obviously left, had a little bit of a iffy situation with Dana White, made his way into boxing, had that close fight with Tyson Fury, got knocked out by Anthony Joshua quite brutally. He's returned to MMA with the organization PFL. I don't know what that stands for. It's probably the second best organization in the world after the UFC.
What about one?
One's up there as well.
Yeah.
It's between those three. But he fought for the heavyweight championship.
What, they gave him a title fight straight away?
Of course, it's Francis Ngannou.
Fair
this
point.
guy was the UFC champion.
Fair point.
One of the greatest to walk the earth. probably the scariest man on the planet, in my opinion.
Yeah, he is
in
pretty
MMA. No one's walking out of a room against him, not even John Jones. But anyway.
Wow. That's for another pod.
He fought Renan Ferreira. Can't say I know much about him. I just follow the UFC. But he's a striker. Didn't have much of a ground game. But Ngannou went in there, took him down, first round, ground and pound shots, put him out cold, as he does. Just a standard Francis Ngannou performance. So good to see him back.
Is there any way Francis Ngannou gets back into the UFC, or is it
no chance he's ever rejoining the UFC?
Damn,
I think
the fallout that bad?
That bridge has been broken.
Damn.
But he did have a face-off with John Jones after the fight and tried to entice him over to the PFL. So possibly, who knows? John Jones leaves the UFC, goes and gets a big money fight against Ngannou in the PFL.
Yeah.
Could happen. But that's the MMA news. On to what you're all here for. NBL, what's been happening, Finn?
Of course, before we get into the games, there's a bit of news to break down. Obviously, a new addition to the wall. Parker Jackson Cartwright has joined.
Looks good.
Thought I'd cop a jersey. I think it would be rude not to. Took a while to come, actually, like a week from the NBL website. But it's here, and it's glorious, and something about the Breakers pink is next level.
It looks so good sitting next to Damian Lillard there, you know? Two GOATs. Who's this guy? What's his name?
I don't know, bro. I don't really like looking at him anymore, but yeah, got a new jersey on the wall. Going to be repping that at all Breakers games this year, of course. And some news that happened throughout the league this year as well. Not this year, this week as well. My absolute beloved man from the Clipper Nation, Montrezl Harrell, extended his contract for the Adelaide 36ers and will be remaining on the team until the end of the season. I think this is glorious, and I think it is perfect for the NBL. It's perfect for Adelaide, and Jarrell Martin did return tonight, so there was a chance that if Montrezl didn't sign that extension, he would have been gone, and that would have been it. But they've dropped one of their, lower rostered players, like a local, I'm assuming. Montrezl Harrell extended to the end of the year. I think it is perfect with the league. He brings a sort of intensity that not many other players in the league brings. Dancing, talking to the fans, going up to the cameras after and ones. He's a bit obnoxious, but we all love it, and it's just good to have him in the league. He's starting to find his feet and playing some really good basketball too. So he's returning, and
he's definitely probably the biggest personality in the NBL, I'd say.
100%.
Great to get more eyes on the game, because for a fact that he's bringing in a lot of views that we would not have otherwise.
For sure, and I feel like him coming probably got the league a bit across the map over in America, potentially. People want to see him try return to the league, so he's using this as a stepping stone to try and make another NBA roster.
And their initial import, who Harrell initially was replacing, Jarrell Martin, he made his return. Man, that guy's big, Finn. We were watching the game live.
Large human being, Jarrell Martin.
And he can shoot threes.
He looks really out of shape, won't lie. Kind of like how Harrell did when he first put on an Adelaide jersey, but now that they have 3 import spots all linked up in Adelaide with Jarrell Martin, Kendrick Davis, and Montrezl Harrell, they look pretty scary now, old Adelaide, and they could be a dark horse to go pretty well this year. But Jarrell Martin returns, Montrezl extends. I'm really happy. Honestly, Adelaide's becoming probably my second favorite team in the NBL very quickly.
How much would you love to see an Adelaide versus the Breakers final series, Finn? Is that on your bucket list?
A 5-game series of 2 of my favorite teams in the league in my own backyard.
Seeing Tacko Fool and Montrezl Harrell going at it.
Oh, we will get to Tacko very, very soon as well. There's some news surrounding Tacko, but a bit of other news. Southeast Melbourne, Will, what have they done?
They obviously got rid of their head coach in the last game. Mike Kelly, and straight away, very next game, they get a win.
Crazy.
So, they're kind of proving the point that maybe it was the coach's problem.
Yeah.
They could go on a little run here. Who knows? Maybe my take that Southeast Melbourne are a sleeper pick. It's still alive.
But yeah, they actually have a new coach on the way now. American coach, his name is Josh King. He last coached in Turkey for I'm gonna absolutely butcher this. Darushafaka.
Say that again. Say that again.
Say that 3 times in a row, fast as you can. I guarantee you. Yeah, that was probably better. That was better than me. But so he's on his way. I'll be honest, don't know anything about him. But I mean, Turkey's one of the best destinations for European basketball. So obviously, it's a pretty impressive resume. And if he does anything like what Justin Tatum did with the Hawks last year, then Southeast Melbourne could potentially turn their season around very early on. Obviously, 0-5. With a new coach coming in.
Now.
They're 1-5 now with a win. We'll get into that very soon too. You never know if he's got a Justin Tatum type of impact on Southeast Melbourne, then they have a genuine chance to turn this around and maybe sneak in to the play-in tournament and maybe just maybe, Will, your take might be legit that they could be a dark horse. You never know. They have a pretty stacked roster.
You never know. My take on Derek Walton's not looking too good, though.
It's not. He's still got time.
4 points in his latest game.
He's still got time.
Hopefully the new coach figures it out for him, because I love watching his game. He's a fun player to watch. But anyway, let's get into the games. There were 6 this week.
There's a little bit more before we should get into the games, may I add, with the Breakers.
Tacko Fall. My apologies.
So Tacko Fall has signed on to the Breakers as a practice player. So he's not actually on the team just yet, but he is coming back to New Zealand with the boys. His flights were delayed, so I'm not sure if he's in the country yet. But he's joined the team as a practice player, and he's going to continue his rehab on his quad strain and start training with the team. And the Breakers tried to finesse all fans, which, I'm a bit torn on this. I'm very upset about this. As a Breakers fan, this is not what you want to see. But, well, what did they try and do with Tacko Fall?
So, obviously, Tacko Fall, massive celebrity. You saw it in the NBA. Everyone just wants to see him on the court. That's not going to change in New Zealand in the NBL. So the Breakers obviously tried to take advantage of this situation. They wanted to do a meet and greet with the fans.
Awesome. I think that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Why would you not want to do a meet and greet with a giant that's global?
Maybe if it's $30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's potentially...
kind of trying to finesse the fans a little bit there. I know that upset you.
It really did. I just don't see... the Breakers are supposed to be fans first, right?
Yeah.
Why on earth are they charging $30 to meet a player who, one, isn't even on the team?
He's
played technically a game. He didn't even play a game in America. He's a practice player.
Not for long.
$30 to meet somebody prior to a game. Personally, I think if the Breakers were for the fans and for the people, that should be free.
If you're buying a ticket, I think it should be included in the ticket.
100%.
So not free, but you go along to support the team. You get to meet Tacko Fall.
Just chuck him in a little roped off area where you can go and get a picture with him or something. I'm sure he wouldn't care. He seems like a really nice guy. I mean, we go way back, me and Tacko now, so chances are he would have been fine with it. But look, it didn't happen. I think this is good. I'm glad it didn't happen. His flight got delayed, so he wasn't able to make the game last night against Perth. That was supposed to happen before the Perth Wildcats game at Spark Arena. But I'm just, this irks me the wrong way. This is supposed to be a league where they put the fans first. You should not be charging $30 on top of a ticket just to meet a player who's not on the team.
Yes, pretty crazy.
Not a big fan of that. But Will, NBL games this round, you want to kick us off?
6 of them. 2 of them included the Breakers. Obviously, we're playing that catch-up ball now since we missed, what was it, a week and a half in total?
Yeah, it was 2 rounds.
2 rounds? Yeah, not good. But first game of the week, Tassie versus Sydney. This one kind of went... I was watching this one a little bit. Tassie were up in this game, and they just couldn't hold on to the lead. Sydney came back. I think they were down 20 at one point, Sydney.
Wow.
They came back to win by 9 points, 80-71 in the end. Jordan Crawford, he had a very inefficient 25 points.
Yeah, I think 36% from the field or something.
Yeah. But,
25 points regardless, though.
Still carrying that team on his back. He's looking like the best player for Tassie, in my opinion, so far this season. Him and Milton Doyle, that's the 2 bright spots since they lost Jack McVeigh from last season. But hopefully they can figure it out.
Yeah.
Obviously, they were fun to watch in the finals. I found myself rooting for them last year against Melbourne.
I mean, they were definitely the underdogs going into that series. And for them to kind of, defend home island is what they used to say. Island defended. They won the chip. But, yeah, and speaking of Milton Doyle, 2 for 3 from the field that game as well. Really slow one for him.
2 for 13, you mean?
2 for 13. Yes, apologies. But he's been really good this year. This is just maybe a little blip. But I'm sure...
That's still an impressive game to only lose by 9 to Sydney, who I know we've mentioned them in every episode at this point, how stacked they are.
So
good,
dumb.
Good outing, I think.
They won by 9, and there wasn't really anyone that had a super influential, outstanding game. It was just consistency.
But that's the thing with Sydney. They just have so many players.
100%.
So deep into their bench. They can have 8 players score double figures and...
blow a team. Well, probably if that happens, they're blowing teams out, and it basically does. One person has a bad game, another person just steps up, and when they just have everyone sort of firing sort of on all cylinders, just an efficient game across the board for the people in Sydney.
What was the next game of the round, Finn?
The Taipans played the Hawks. Honestly, with no Taran Armstrong, I honestly don't think the Taipans are going to be very good this year. A 75-87 loss to the Hawks. Tyler Harvey, obviously been in the league for a while now, kind of made a name for himself. 20 points, 3 assists for him. In terms of any other players in the game, no real standouts, unfortunately. But yeah, the Taipans without Taran Armstrong, who probably their brightest spot this year. Only played in 2 games this season, old Taran Armstrong. They are struggling. Rob Edwards still there, still puts up good numbers, but just incredibly inefficient, old Rob Edwards.
Yeah. Hopefully, I mean, he is fun to watch. He's a good scorer.
100%.
But like you said, he sometimes chucks up questionable shots. And Taron Armstrong, he was really looking like the bright spot of their future up there in Cairns.
Yeah.
So without him, they're definitely going to struggle. And with teams like Southeast Melbourne maybe turning around their season, it could be looking like the wooden spoon for the Cairns Taipans.
Cairns and Brisbane not looking a bit ropey.
The Hawks as well, moving to 5-1 on the season.
Oh.
They're top of the table. They're looking like this season. It's actually looking like quite a stacked standings. There's a lot of teams who are going to be competing for that chip this year, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Like a very competitive league. Obviously, Justin Tatum. We always talk about Justin Tatum and how much we like Justin Tatum and what he's done for Illawarra in the last year. Illawarra moved to 5-1, like you said, Will. And when you have teams like Sydney and even the Breakers, it's going to be pretty close around that 1-4 seeding spots, I reckon, come near the back end of the season.
Hear me out, Finn. Justin Tatum, he goes on a legendary 10, 15-year career as a head coach of the Illawarra Hawks.
Jesus.
A 38-year-old Jason Tatum no longer can play in the NBA. He makes the move to the Illawarra Hawks to end out his career. Wow. And at this point, Juice Tatum is now a young 19-year-old coming into the league. I don't know if that would be his age, but roughly, who knows? It's going to be like a LeBron Bronny situation. And he has his next star year for the Illawarra Hawks with his dad and his grandfather on the Illawarra Hawks.
Oh my God.
How cool would that be?
Hey, you had it here first. Write it down.
The 3 Tatums.
Will Tremaine just did the biggest take ever, and we're going to come back to this in, 10 to 15 years?
10 to 15. Hopefully we'll still be going at that point. Who knows?
If that happens, hang it in the Louvre, bro. Yeah. This video is going to hang in the Louvre.
Next game of the round. Melbourne United, Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, the Melbourne Derby. 93-84 win for the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. They're back.
Sorry? How are you getting a 9-point win over Melbourne? You just
lost. Ended one of your parlays as well, again.
Yeah, I had another little 3-legger going on, and Melbourne's ruined it for me. They were a 120 favourite against Southeast Melbourne for obvious reasons. Bottom of the table, just lost their head coach. And they beat Melbourne United, who honestly they have a really good team. Melbourne United have a stacked team. And you're losing 9 points to Southeast Melbourne. 93-84?
High scorer. High scoring game.
Can't believe it. No one saw this coming.
Who was the guy that stood out in this one for you, Finn?
Jordan Hunter. Geordie Hunter, of course, Sydney Kings big man the last couple of years. Moved over to Southeast Melbourne. The lone sort of centre on this team still. 20 points, 9 boards for him. Matt Hurt continuing to impress. He's obviously leading the league in scoring, I'm pretty sure. He had 18. Pretty efficient 18 for him as well. No one saw this coming. Nate Sobey had an alright game, relatively inefficient, but he was injected back into that starting lineup. But a big win over a really good team in a derby. I'm pretty sure at United's home court as well. I don't think Southeast Melbourne had home court advantage for this game. No one saw this coming. Potentially, this is what they needed to turn around their season and go on a potential little streak of games here with a new coach coming in.
Who knows? Could be the start of a great season going forward for Southeast Melbourne.
Who knows?
Last game of the round for us to break, apart from the Breakers games, of course, was the Adelaide 36ers and Tassie. They were the only other team that played 2 games this round as well. We just finished watching that game live. Adelaide scraping by with a 77-73 win against Tassie. I think this was closer than we expected, this one, Finn.
Way closer, especially with Tassie looking a bit ropey against Sydney earlier on in the week.
Yeah, and the standout guy, as he has been for most games, I think, for Adelaide, he's quickly becoming one of my favourite players in this league as well, is Kendrick Davis. 23 points, 4 steals, iced the game with the free throws at the end of that one. And your guy, I'll let you talk about him because I know how much you love him.
Well, Montrez having another monster performance, 22 points and 7 boards. I mean, he did get blocked by Will Magnay on a potential poster. That's okay, though. 22 points for Trez. That's exactly what you need from him. Looking really dominant down low. And now with Jarrell Martin there as well. It's just good to see Adelaide kind of piecing it together. Obviously, I thought this wouldn't, maybe not a blowout, but probably a more comfortable win I would have expected for Adelaide. The only issue is their depth is pretty weak still, despite having a really good starting 5.
They had Jarrell Martin coming into this game, his first game of the season, and he's obviously probably going to be coming off the bench because they've got Isaac Humphries at the 5 there. Yeah. So he could be, like you said, if he can maybe get into a bit bit better of a NBL shape. He could be that missing piece that they need off the bench going forwards. And Tassie, they were kind of carried by Milton Doyle in this one.
Yeah, 22.
22 points. Obviously, he's that go-to guy. They were trying to find him at the end of the game there for a couple of... He hit one good three to keep the game alive with about 8 seconds left. He was the only really impressive player in that one for Tassie.
I really enjoyed this game, though. Great game. Really back and forth, low scoring, really gritty. It was getting quite chippy at some points. Trez copped an elbow to the face and then kind of took Will Magnay out.
Ruben Tarangi, that wasn't it?
Might have been, yeah. But a really good game. Adelaide looking like a good team. I think they're going to be potential dark horses to continue going on in this 100%. This season. Obviously, very early days, but with Trez doing Trez things and being for the rest of the season, Kendrick Davis potentially probably one of the best point guards we've seen in the NBL and this season so far. Soon. We'll get to that later on. We've got a little top 5 list coming later on for that. But yeah, Adelaide looking really, really good. If they can piece it together, Jarrell Martin slots in nicely, then they're going to be a potential dark horse, I think, to go quite far in this league for sure.
Anyway, let's get into the 2 big games of the round. The Breakers, 1-1 this week, bringing our record to 3-1. We're still second on the table.
Still second.
But the first one, in Brizzy, we got our first loss of the season, 84-73. We didn't play well in this one. No. We were extremely inefficient. Kareem Lopez, by the way, he was out for both games in this round. Hopefully that's not too serious of an injury and he can come back soon. But yeah, the Breakers just couldn't find their groove. They were 9 for 35 from the 3-point line, Finn.
I just don't understand why we kept shooting.
Yeah.
Obviously the shots weren't falling that night. We'd been traveling a lot. The boys hadn't even gone home yet. They'd come straight from Oklahoma, where they had their last NBA game, and went straight to Brizzy to start preparing for this one. You could tell early on they looked like they were very fatigued. The first quarter was pretty woeful. So it was quite hard for them to get into the groove again of playing back in NBL, NBL teams, NBL rules. And this was the issue that I had with the whole tour is in a whole really was that it was going to hinder our performances coming back into the NBL season. And to lose to Brisbane, who's been struggling a lot this year too, with this is their second win of the season. The only other win coming against Southeast Melbourne last round, of course. This is a game that we should be putting away.
Yeah, even it being in Brisbane away, it's definitely one of those games that we're expected to win.
100%.
The 2 players that I think did stand out for us, though, have been the 2 players that have kind of been our best players all throughout preseason and the first few games of this round. Parker Jackson-Cartwright and Sam Menenga, they both actually had efficient games. Parker Jackson-Cartwright with 20 points, 6 assists, 7 rebounds, and 2 steals.
I think it was a career high for rebounds for him.
Yeah, 7 boards for a 5'7" guy.
Crazy.
That's impressive.
Hungry for them.
And he was 3 for 6 from 3, so he wasn't one of the inefficient guys.
Yeah. Same
Same with Sam Menenga, 15 points. He was 7 for 11 from inside the arc. So along with 5 boards, it was a good outing for Sam. One guy had very mixed games this round, Matt Mooney. We'll get to him in the next game, but in this one, he was struggling to find his shot a bit, Finn.
To say the least, bro. 1 for 9 from 3 for Matt Mooney in this one. Stop shooting, potentially, but I mean,
don't stop shooting.
He's a professional and he is there to shoot threes. But I feel like when you're going 1 for 9, you got to find another way to score.
Yeah. Your guy, Mojave King. I know. He's your pick for 6th man of the year. He's been looking impressive. Both of these 2 games. In this one, he had 11 off the bench. He's looking like he's that perfect 6th man for the Breakers so far this season.
Yeah, I think we should continue to keep him on the bench too. Because he's that scoring outlet that we need, which we talked about all year. Just comes in, gets some buckets. It's what we need from Mojave King off the bench, showing his versatility in scoring with Mitch McCarron, obviously, alongside him as well. But look, to wrap up this game, I'm not happy. 73 points in our first game back is honestly not really acceptable. You could tell that the tour really hindered us. And the travel that we've done so far this season has been insane. I saw a video recently, Will, actually, someone breaking down the Breakers travel, what we've done in the first 3-4 weeks of the season, dating back to the preseason where we headed over to Sydney, played those 2 games in Sydney, right? Went to Sydney, we came back to New Zealand, then straight back to the Gold Coast, played in the Blitz. Then I think we came back, then went to Brisbane and played Brisbane. And then we came back and played Perth. And then we went all the way over to America, to Utah, Salt Lake City. then over to Philly, then Oklahoma, then straight to Brisbane.
Crazy.
I would love to know if somebody could calculate how many hours the boys have spent sitting on an airplane and traveling, going through customs.
Yeah.
That is 100% going to hinder your performance when it comes to playing basketball.
No doubt. That's definitely must have a massive impact. And then having to play 2 games in one round as well.
And it's going to be like that for a majority of the season too.
No more buys.
No more buys. We're going to have a lot of double headers.
Yeah. It was a tough one. The standout player for Brisbane, though, got to mention him, James Bateman, off the bench. They kind of had an all-around performance from most of their guys. No one really stood out apart from James Bateman. He had 21 points and 5 assists off the bench. Maybe they should think about moving him into one of those starting roles.
Potentially. But yeah, look, not happy with the game. We lost, but we got a bounce-back win last night, of course, against Perth. So
great win.
Really, really good win in front of a home crowd as well. 89-85. No Bryce Cotton tonight. Last night, though, for Perth.
He did start the game, but he had this weird little injury. No one touched him. It wasn't a flagrant or anything on the breakers. He just came off a screen, and something must have just popped in his rib or something, and he just went down on the ground grimacing. Obviously, didn't play the rest of the game. He actually got rushed to hospital in Auckland. He was cleared to fly back to Perth later that night, but there's no clear update on what the injury is, just something to do with the ribs. So hopefully, obviously we don't want to see anyone in this league injured. Hopefully he makes a quick return. One of the most fun players to watch in NBL history, probably on the Mount Rushmore of NBL players.
I think 100%.
That guy is 100%. A legend. So hopefully, sending our prayers to Bryce Cotton.
It was a weird one, no way. He came off a screen and just sort of pulled up, and then all of a sudden he was on the ground, holding his rib cage area. Got rushed to the locker room, and then straight to hospital.
Yeah,
they must have thought it must have been pretty serious. But apparently it's not a broken rib, because if you can't fly with broken ribs, right?
I don't think you can.
Yeah,
something to do with the air pressure or something. But so he was cleared to fly home. So
luckily, then
hopefully it's not too serious.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Your guy, our guy. Obviously, we got him on the wall now.
Yes, sir.
PJC. Bit of a all-round kind of funky performance from PJC last night, Will.
Yeah, he obviously was struggling to find his shot last night. He was 5 for 21 from the field, so quite an inefficient. What's that? Less than 25%. But PJC, he just finds ways to impact the game. He obviously only had 13 points, and there was a point in the game where he must have just realized, hey, I'm not finding my shot. It's not working, and he switched it up. He had 9 assists in this one.
Lovely.
Finding his teammates, and 5 steals. So on defense, he was being a pest, keeping his hands in those passing lanes, and still making a massive impact in this game for us, even when his shot's not falling.
Yeah, despite not shooting great at all. 1 for 8 from 3 is a bit concerning. However, I think the one he did hit was in the 4th. It's quite an important 3.
And I know you did say earlier on in the season, I forgot when it was, but you said PJC will not have less than 10 points in a game. So he's keeping that tradition alive.
He is not scoring less than 10 points in a Breakers jersey. I might have last season. I'm actually not sure. I'd have to pull up the stats, but I promise you, 13 points. Not great efficiency. Still scored double digits. I promise you, PJC does not score less than 10 points in a game this year.
I hope not. Who was the player that stepped up for us in this one, though, Finn?
Well, someone who shot 1 for 9 in the game before decided to come out and shoot 70% from 3 on 7 for 10 from the line. Matt Mooney, Will Tremaine.
Crazy.
Holy, 28 points for Matt Mooney. Just absolutely lit them up in the second half. Standout player, of course. Will.
We needed to see a game like this from Matt Mooney. It was destined to come. You know?
He
hadn't really had a standout game yet. I know that second preseason game against Sydney.
Yes,
he had a great one. But this was his first regular season game where he's really just stepped up as that number 1 guy. And 7 for 10 from 3. Obviously, he had a poor one in the first outing, but when he's showing that he's capable of that sort of shooting, I just want to keep seeing him chuck threes up all game long, every game. He's proving to be a very good signing in one of those import slots for the Breakers.
Yeah, and it's funny because his threes weren't just all catch and shoots. The degree of difficulty on some of these shots were unreal. I think it was the back end of the third quarter. He was taking pull-ups and transitions.
Yeah.
He had one that was just out the gate. I think his foot was on the line, so it counted as a 2, but it was a 2 for 1. Full speed down the court, bro, just pulled up in someone's face and made it. I did want to mention this, Will, with Matt Mooney. I've heard rumors, well, I don't know if it's a rumor, it might be confirmed, but apparently his contract isn't for the whole season.
Oh,
I might need to confirm that, but I've heard rumors around in certain group chats and stuff that potentially Matt Mooney doesn't stay for the whole year.
Well, that
So
would
I'm
be
not
a
sure.
big loss for the Breakers.
Don't quote me on it because I might be wrong, but I've heard a few people say that he potentially might not be here for the whole year, which would be horrible, especially if he's having 28 points, 7 for 10 from 3. It's exactly what we need alongside PJC for sure.
Well, let's pray, guys, that Finn's got his facts wrong on that
Hopefully.
one.
I honestly hope I have.
Matt Mooney's here to stay.
That'd be nice. Max Starling still starting, Will, and we've had mixed opinions on him starting, but Petteri Koponen has clearly seen something in Max Starling that no other Breakers fan has seen, because I've seen so many people question why he started every game this year, but I think last night proves why he is getting the nod.
Yeah, he definitely proved a point last night to any of his haters out there. I'm a big Max Starling fan. I know you are as well, Finn, so I was happy to see this. And with Mojave, obviously, we want to keep him on the bench. I think he's kind of solidified that 3 spot going forwards.
Even with Kareem potentially coming back, what would you like to see there?
I'd like to see Kareem stay on the bench.
Okay.
Being a younger guy, I think that adds to our bench depth, and he's kind of one of those guys who's going to be here for 2 years, so he can work himself into that starting lineup come next season. And Max Starling, he's just proved that he's a very good rebounder as well. Obviously, he's a kind of shorter guy, but he is very, very strong.
And athletic.
And very athletic. There were a couple times where he just drove to the rim and he just bumps off his defender.
Almost caught a body last night from memory as well. Just got fouled on the way. But
15 in this one as well.
15 points. Shot really well from 3 in that first quarter, I think. Hit back-to-back corner threes.
Yeah.
They're just leaving him open. Like, he's showing that he can space the floor quite well.
Max Starling's shooting.
Max Starling. Go you, mate. Sorry, he shut us all up, all the people that weren't really a fan of him starting, but clearly he's really killing it in practices and at training camp and preseason. So Petteri has trust in him, and I trust Petteri Koponen to keep giving him the nod, and clearly it's paid off with a really positive game. The best game he's obviously had in a Breakers jersey so far this season, Will.
Yeah. Also, Mojave King, another 10 off the bench. Seems like he's consistently scoring double-digit games off the bench for the Breakers, which is what we want to see. Love to see it.
Yeah.
Keep up the great work, Mojave.
I reckon, like my take earlier, I genuinely think if he continues to be efficient and just be that little scoring outlet off the bench, 6th man of the year is a genuine thing that he could probably win if he stays on the bench, which looks like it's going to happen.
100%. He could go into that starting role. Who knows if Matt Mooney's not here for the whole season.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I need to do my research. I'll run it back next episode and confirm with you guys. Any standouts for Perth? Obviously, Bryce Cotton went out, and it was only a 4-point game, so there must have been somebody that stepped up, Will.
Yeah, obviously, Bryce Cotton, the point guard of that team, went out. So, the point guard that they got in to replace him, New Zealand's very own, actual local, North Shore local, Westlake boy, Ty Webster, stepped up into that starting point guard spot. He was definitely the standout player for Perth in this one. He had 20 points, 6 dimes, and six boards and 6 assists. So very all-around impressive showing from Ty Webster. He hasn't really had one of those games yet so far for Perth this season, so you always love to see Kiwis killing it in basketball, no matter what team they're playing for. So it was great to see that from Ty Webster. And
Christian Doolittle, just obviously he's been an import this year, done all right. 15 and 11, quite inefficient though. I think he shot 4 for 12 from the field this one.
Yeah,
but just another little
grabbing
another piece added there. One thing I'd love to see from Perth, they need to sort out Dylan Windler.
Yes, Dylan Windler, he was a very, very impressive player over in the States. I know he had, in a G League game, he had like 34 rebounds, and he's not even a big man.
I think he had 30. Was it a 30-30? It might have been.
It might have been a 30-30, but it was, I think, the highest rebounding game in G League history as a shooting guard or a small forward. Yeah. Absolutely insane, and he's not even an extremely athletic guy, so I don't know how he grabbed those boards, but that was absolutely crazy, and he had some stints with the Cavs as well, and among other teams over in the NBA there. So to see him now in the NBL as one of those import slots for the Perth Wildcats, I'd love to see him step up if Bryce Cotton's out for an extended period of time and kind of become that number one guy.
Yeah, we're about, 5 rounds in, and I feel like just Dylan Windler hasn't been clicking in the NBL.
Not yet.
And sometimes it happens. Imports look really, really good, especially the ones that were playing NBA and G League, and then they'll go play in Europe and play really well, and then they come over to the NBL and they sort of just fizzle out. Like it must be a really hard league to adapt to, because you've seen it. Dylan Windler is a bucket, and for him just to not really be clicking this early on, slightly concerning. I wouldn't call it a waste of an import, because we know what Dylan Windler is capable of, but when you have an import come in and they can't produce numbers better than your locals, it's a bit concerning.
Yeah. But that's all for the NBL games this week. 2 Breakers games, obviously 1-1, mixed results, but lots to take away from those 2 games.
It's a pass.
It's
for
a
me.
pass.
It's a pass for me.
We're still in second on the ladder, so who knows how that Perth game would have gone without Bryce Cotton, though.
Yeah, I think if Bryce Cotton doesn't get injured, that's a very, very different game. And Keanu Pinder was quite quiet too. So
That's
Bryce,
credit to our defense, though.
yeah, 100%, man. But yeah, Bryce Cotton's still there. That's a bit of a ropey game. But to be fair, when PJC is shooting 5 for 21, even if he makes 5 more shots, it's almost a blowout.
Yeah.
So, bit of an efficient one from PJC, but luckily Bryce Cotton left. But
hopefully we have a great round next week.
obviously breaking
as you
down.
know, we'll break it down for you.
Of course. But Will, some NBA news. Preseason.
Hold on, Finn. NBA news, we can get to that. We have some more important news to get to first. As you know, a couple weeks back, we chucked a poll out there. Who would win in a free throw shooting contest?
Oh, no.
Finn James or Kareem Lopez? And it upsets me to say that you guys voted Finn James to win that one. Absolutely crazy. You guys need to go away and do some rethinking about where you got those opinions from. Because this Wednesday just gone, Finn James in our men's league, you heard it here first. I want you to tell all your friends he shot 0 for 9 from the free throw line in a game which we lost by, was it 8?
Nah, I think it was 12.
We lost by 12. 9 of those points
Could have won us the game.
could have brought us back into a close one. Who knows? How do you shoot 0 for 9 from the free throw line, Finn? Please, I'm just mind boggled by this situation.
Okay, so there's no excuse for how I shot on Wednesday. I'd like to apologize to my teammates, the coaching staff, the management, my parents for letting them all down.
We might have to make a move. Honestly, it's gotten that bad.
If I get benched next week, I understand why. Honestly,
I'm talking trades.
Wow.
As a GM.
All what I've done for this club and just one poor free throw shooting performance, and I'm going to get traded. Honestly, I was shooting short, I tried to shoot long, and I just couldn't hit the sweet spot. 0 for 9, I had a shocker.
Guys, do me a favor. Everyone go back to that poll, remove your vote for Finn, and give it to Kareem Lopez, because I guarantee you now, Kareem Lopez will never shoot 0 for 9 from the line in any basketball game he ever plays in his career.
Look, we'll come back to the pod next week, and if I shoot 100% on free throws with a lot, then I'm going to just rub it in your face.
Fair enough. But you have to shoot more than like 2. If you go 2 for 2...
Well, knowing me, I get to the line a lot because I scream when I drive to the hoop.
You do.
So
the refs would have something to say about that.
Yeah, I did get a tech as well, let's be honest, yeah. Look, moving on from that.
Yeah.
I'll be honest,
all good.
I need to take the spotlight real quickly, and I won't do this for long. NBA news, Kawhi Leonard, my beloved Pookie Bear, Kawhi Leonard of the LA Clippers, out indefinitely with his knee problems. Well, when's it going to end?
Oh, mate, I'm just... Please... Just elaborate for us. I'm just sitting back. This is so amusing to me.
When is it going to end?
Obviously, I don't like to see anyone injured. And Kawhi, he's one of the greatest players of all time. I love watching his game. That Raptors season of his, incredible. But, as you being a Clippers fan, it's a little bit sweet to see
of course it is.
The Clippers going to be finishing 15 this year.
I just want to know when it's going to end, guys. That's all I want to know. We did so much for this man. Traded away our entire future. Just to bring in him, because the only reason he signed with us was because we also got Paul George. Paul George left us. Kawhi Leonard has barely played in a Clippers uniform. I mean, he played 68 games last year before tearing his MCL, I think, just before the playoffs. So, look, he's still having ongoing issues. He had surgery over the offseason, of course. It was looking like he was going to be able to suit up opening night, and that's obviously been updated. And Kawhi Leonard will not be suiting up indefinitely, so there is no timetable for his return. Hopefully shorter rather than later.
I'm sorry to break this to you, Finn, but I've heard rumblings around the league that Kawhi Leonard might be contemplating retirement. The knee injury started in 2018 when he was on the Spurs, and it was a degenerative knee injury that has progressively been getting worse. The Spurs told him to play through it, which is the reason why he wanted to leave San Antonio. And obviously it's just gotten worse and worse with the Raptors, then the Clippers. And he's at the point where he's contemplating retirement. You don't want to get injured every single season, multiple times. A guy like that, he obviously wants to have a life after basketball. That could be it for Kawhi Leonard, Finn. Who knows?
Wow.
Do we have a tissue box here, guys?
If I'm not in the next podcast episode, you know why. And
Crazy.
Kawhi Leonard, you will be the reason for that.
Crazy.
On the bright side, James Harden is turning back the clock this season. I said it here first. But look, moving on. I don't want to get too sad.
At least that trade that you guys
Shut
made
up.
was really good.
I don't want to talk
Shea
about it.
Gilgeous, Jalen Williams, and possibly Cooper Flag.
Yeah, if we finish,
OKC.
because our pick goes to the Thunder, right?
Yeah.
If we are a lottery team and we
Which
get
you
the
will
first
be.
pick and it goes straight to the Thunder,
They could get
imagine
Cooper Flag.
Oh, brother.
Yeah. At least you guys got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard.
Dude, let's move on from this, please. Let's move
Couple
on.
Lakers rookies, Finn.
Oh, yeah.
Let's change the topic.
Let's change the topic.
The other LA
team. Yeah. Bronny James, 17 points in the final preseason game he started. 7 from 17 from the field, not the worst I've ever seen. People are saying he looked like a legitimate player out there. They got blown out by 50 by the Warriors just quietly, but I mean, bright signs for Bronny. I just thought I'd highlight it because everyone loves Bronny.
And the other rookie that the Lakers drafted, Dalton Connect.
Oh my God, Connect 4.
Crazy.
So this was not in the last preseason game; it was the one before. He scored 20 straight points to end the game. Will?
Yeah, absolutely insane. He's looking like definitely one of the front runners for Rookie of the Year at this point.
Well, I mean, it is weird because it's preseason and no one else is playing, obviously. And I don't know how many points I don't know how many minutes Dalton Connect's going to get in the regular season.
Well, I mean,
surely he's proven something.
that Lakers team's not too deep, so I think he's definitely going to be in one of those rotation
He's
roles.
that next Austin Reeves white boy type of pickup. So man, shout out Dalton Connect. He's got a crazy cool nickname, bro. Connect 4.
Connect 4's crazy.
So sick. But preseason's done, and the season starts in 3 days time. So
3 days,
obviously
can't
there's going to be a lot to unpack in the next episode with the NBA starting, because we want to definitely get quite heavy on that as well as the NBL. So obviously standout games or performances that we want to highlight. I'm sure Trailblazers and Clippers bias will be thrown around a bit if there's some big games there, but really excited that the NBA is finally returning.
Yeah, and obviously we finished out the position ranking lists with the NBA last week, so now we've moved on to the NBL, and obviously being a smaller league, we're just going to do top 5 per position this segment, and we're going to do it based on how they've been so far this season in the NBL. Obviously there's limited games to go off, but we're about 6 or 7 in now, so
Plus preseason.
I think we get a good view of who the top 5 in each position is going to be this week, starting off with point guards. Who do we have in number 5? Finn?
And just to clear it up, we aren't doing a list each. So this is a collective list that Will and I have done, considering there won't, the difference, we won't have a big difference, to be honest, with only 10 teams in
and
the league.
we agreed unanimously on these 5. Anyway.
100%. I'm sure we will for the other positions as well.
Probably.
But yeah, top 5 point guard list. I think this is pretty set in stone, I feel like.
I think 5 could be debatable.
5 is
but
the
top
only one.
4,
Yeah.
I think they're guaranteed.
5 is the only one that is probably a bit debatable, and we've picked Jordan Crawford from the Tasmania Jack Jumpers. The only player that might have been able to slip in here was Matthew Dellavedova from Melbourne United, but Jordan Crawford being that real small nippy guy, the second option on Tassie, he's at number 5. Well, who do you have at number 4? I think you might kind of like this one.
Number 4, quickly becoming one of my favourite players, Kendrick Davis for the Adelaide 36ers. I think he's been their best player so far this season. Absolute bucket. Give him the ball in the big moments, and he's going to knock it down for you. Kendrick Davis at 4. Number 3.
We got Trey Kell, Illawarra Hawks. I think he was second in MVP rankings in the latest one 5 days ago by the NBL. Just an absolute bucket. I think he's averaging 18 a game over in Illawarra. The best team in the league right now. We have him at number 3. The last 2 picks could potentially be a bit biased. Obviously, Trey Kell being an MVP voting, but me and Will talked about this, and we could justify the fact that these next 2 players are probably still better than Trey Kell.
Number 2, PJC, and let's get out of the way as well. Number 1, Bryce Cotton. Those 2 guys, I think they're clear 1 and 2.
100%. And to be honest, it's probably quite close. It's closer than you think.
It's close. PJC is obviously probably one of the best defenders when it comes to steals in this league.
I think he's
And
leading
assists.
Is he leading the league?
He's leading the league, and he's up there in assists.
I think
as well.
he's leading the league in assists as well.
Yeah, and then he's up there in
Crazy.
points as well. So you could argue PJC at 1, to be honest, but
with Bryce
we're
Cotton,
still giving
I
our
think,
props to Bryce.
Yeah,
Cotton.
well, Bryce Cotton had a 35 piece this year with 8 threes. I think he's just the best scorer in this league, so you can't really have him any lower than 1, Will. But that's our list for the top 5 NBL point guards so far this season. With me and Will, we got. I'll run through it again for all the viewers at home.
on.
Jordan Crawford at number 5, Kendrick Davis at number 4, Trey Kell at number 3, Parker Jackson Cartwright at number 2, and of course Bryce Cotton, probably one of the best NBL imports of all time. He is at number 1, and it's going to be pretty hard for anyone to ever probably top him for that number 1 point guard spot.
Bryce Cotton is the greatest point guard to ever walk planet Earth.
Sure
Anyway,
thing.
Starting our new segment this week.
And we'll run through this quickly because we are running out of time.
Yes. We're going to do Western Conference next week. This week, Eastern Conference standings predictions, Finn. This is who we think is going to be 1 through 15 in the East this coming NBA season. Who do you got? Should we go from 15?
We'll go from 15, and we won't justify this too much because this is just
It's
gonna be pretty open.
Up in the air.
But at 15, I have the Wizards.
Same.
14, I have the Nets.
Same. I think that's pretty unanimous.
Yep. 13, I have the Pistons.
13, I have the Hornets.
Okay. 12, I have the Hornets.
12, I have the Pistons.
Okay, so it's
Switch
around
those
there.
ones.
Number 11, I have the Bulls.
Same.
Yep. Number 10, I have the Raptors. I think they sneak in.
Number
year.
10, I have the Hawks.
Oh, okay. I have the Hawks at 9.
And I have the Raptors at 9.
Well, there you go.
So
So
those
it's
two
all
as
of it
well.
round. See, this is where it might get a bit different for us. I have the Miami Heat finishing 8th.
I also have the Miami Heat finishing 8th. I
Okay.
think Jimmy and Bam can still,
Well,
keep
Jimmy
doing the
doesn't
playoffs.
care about regular season basketball.
Yeah.
This is why they finish 8th. They still make the play-in. I have the Orlando Magic at 7th. I don't think they back up their season from last year somehow.
We disagree there. I have the Indiana Pacers at number 7.
Wow.
I think Tyrese Halliburton, I'm not too 100% sure on him just yet.
Yeah.
He had a great start to last season, but
Post All-Star break was ropey.
ropey. If he has that sort of start to this season and he keeps that same Tyrese throughout the whole year, I think they're going to be a little bit worse.
And
That's why I have them at 7.
Pascal's there the whole year too.
True.
And Nemhard has improved a lot. So that's why I have the Pacers at 6. I think they missed the play-in.
At 6, I have the Sixers. I know
That is
you might
crazy
come
to
at
me.
me. Hear me out. The standings are never going to go as you expect them 1 through 15. I think this
Always
is going to be
changes.
that. I think this is going to be that team that underperforms and surprises people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people probably think they're going to go 1, 2, or 3. Who knows? They probably have the best big 3 in the league at this point. But I
Yeah.
think you can't bank on this team with the amount of injuries that they're plagued with. Joel Embiid, I would almost bet my house on it that Joel Embiid is not going to play all 82 games this season.
He already said he's not playing back-to-backs.
And
So no.
as much as I don't want to say it, he's probably going to get injured at some point in the season.
Yeah.
That is why I don't have them too high. Same with Paul George.
Hurt
He's
his
already
knee.
going to miss the start of the season.
Is he?
I think
He's going to miss a day.
the start of the season he's missing. So plagued with injuries. I think that's why they're going to finish at 6 for me. Who do you have at 5, Finn?
I've got the Cavs.
I've got the Magic. So you had them at 7.
Okay, yeah.
I've got them at 5.
See, I've got the Sixers at 4th.
got the Sixers
So
at 4.
I've got the Sixers at 4th. This, like Will said, it really comes down to injuries.
Yeah.
But I think they have enough firepower where if one of them goes down, they should still be able to win games. So I've got the Sixers at 4th. Who do you have at 4th?
I have the Cavs at 4th.
Wow,
Some people might think that's a bit high.
That's really high.
But Darius Garland, he's come back. He's going to have a fully healthy season.
Yep.
And I think they have one of the best starting 5s in the NBA. With him
Yeah,
and
that's-
Donovan Mitchell in the backcourt, and then Mobley and Jared Allen in the front court.
Who's their 3?
Is it Okoro?
Might be Okoro. Strus is out for the start of the season, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure, by the way, so he won't be playing. For 3, I have the New York Knicks.
Yeah, we have the same top 3. I have the New York Knicks at 3 as well.
Yeah, and then Bucks for 2nd. I think they're going to have a pretty good year.
100%. With a guy like Damian Lillard on that team, he's probably going to be up there in the MVP voting, averaging around 35, 40 points per game. So,
And then obviously that leaves the current champions and the most stacked team in NBA right now, the Celtics at number 1, of course. And that is unanimous across the entirety of NBA fandom. I swear if it's not, you need to check yourself because the Celtics are going to 100% probably be the first seed in the NBA maybe probably the NBA, probably the whole league, the whole
100%.
league.
They're probably going to be the only 60-win team.
Yeah, well, the West is way too close. We'll get into that next week, of course.
Stay tuned, and thanks for joining us for another episode. Cheers.